Father, we do thank you for this camp. Father, I would ask you that Holy Spirit would have free reign in this place. I pray, Father, for that the next 3 days we would have the courage to give you everything that you've asked of us so that we could have everything you've intended for us. We thank you for what you're about to do, keeping young men safe, restoring families, renewing hearts. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
So the first thing that happens in any steer wrestling run, right here at the shoulder of the steer, right over his withers, right where he can carry you the best, we're going to put weight on the steer's back, okay? We're going to want to make sure he feels us. We're going to have weight on his back at this point. Now, that's true whether we're running steers on the ground or whether we're running steers on horseback. And the reason we do it is threefold. Number one is, if I have weight on his back, in other words, if he's carrying me, then you recognize that if he moves to the right or to the left, where do I go? I go wherever he goes, right? If I have my weight on him, okay? If I'm just floating over the back, over the top of him, if I'm just kind of near him, or I've got my arm over him, but don't have any weight on him, then wherever he goes, he's going to move independently of me. Would you agree to that? Same way a horseback. If I drop in there and I have weight on the steer's back, the steer moves to the right, lets off, comes underneath me, anything like that, I'm going to go wherever he goes because I have my weight on him. The third reason is, if I don't have the weight on the steer's back, where's it going to be on if I'm horseback? It's on the saddle horn, right? Now if I'm hanging off the side of a horse, some of my little guys might be all right, but most horses aren't going to be able to run as fast or as well or straight if I've got all the weight hanging off the corner, off the side of this saddle, pulling across the horse's withers. The horse is either going to want to pull away from me or he's going to come to me. Would you agree to that? So what we're going to do when we ride up there and catch a steer, and we'll show you more in the catch later, but for now, ground dogging is we're going to make sure that right here over his shoulders we put weight on the steer's back, okay? Now when I have weight on the steer's back at this point, I'm always going to have my right shoulder ahead of my left shoulder, okay? That's for three reasons. Number one is I want my right shoulder ahead of my left shoulder because that's going to keep my right hip ahead of my left hip. In other words, if I do it the other way and I get my left shoulder ahead of my right shoulder, now my left hip is ahead of my right hip, and now my feet and legs are landing over in front of the steer and his tracks underneath him in places I don't want to be. Agree? Okay? So that's the first reason. Second reason is I want my right shoulder ahead of my left shoulder so that I can catch the right horn slightly before I catch the inside horn. Outside horn before I catch the inside, or right horn before the left horn. And you might ask about that, but if you go and grab any steer in the pen and grab him by his horn, what will he do with his head? He'll pull it away, right? We don't want him to go that way. If you've seen it on TV, you don't want him going that way, right? Okay, so we're going to go right horn, left horn. That's going to make sure we move the steer's head into our tracks. The third reason I want to catch the right horn and keep my right shoulder ahead of my left shoulder is my right shoulder is what's going to stop my right arm is what's going to stop my momentum coming into this steer if he stops or something like that. So you'll see guys that have stoppers, you'll see it almost every year at the NFR, at least one time this happens. A guy will have a steer that stops. He'll be really focused on catching the inside horn. He'll get his left shoulder ahead of his right shoulder because he's really thinking he's a stopper. I got to catch his inside horn. He'll catch the inside horn, and then the steer will stop, and he'll come sliding right past the steer and get spun around like this and miss the steer in no time. Y'all have seen that? Okay? Maybe even had that happen to you. Well, we're going to catch we're going to lead with our right shoulder because then even if I do miss the inside horn, this is going to let this is going to stop my momentum coming forward, and even if I miss this inside horn, I still won't slide past the head. Okay? So, we're going to catch the right horn coming across the head in this fashion. We're not going to pick up on it. Some of you have probably been told to pick up on the outside horn. Some of you have probably been told to push down and pick up. It's not uncommon. We're going to show you why that doesn't work. There's a time to push on the inside horn, but it's not when we first kick out. We're going to catch the head coming this way across his head in this fashion because that's the direction I want him to go. And the inside horn, all I'm going to do in the first part of this run is I'm just going to control the inside horn. Now you'll notice as I'm standing here talking next to this steer, where am I standing? Where am I staying at? I'm staying back here by his shoulder, right? I'm not going up here behind his horns. This part of the steer, there's no bend in this part. Would y'all agree to that? The bend's here in his neck. So if I go up to his horns, Now there's no bend, the steer doesn't turn, I can't turn him back, I can't do any of the things I want to be able to do with it. So I'm going to stay back here to shoulder, I'm going to go right horn, left horn, and I'm going to move the steer's head into my tracks. You see that? Now the next thing happens, and all this happens in rapid succession, and we'll learn it on these dummies here in a minute, but we're going to go right horn, left horn. The next thing that happens is kick out, placement of my feet and legs. I'm going to be shoulder width apart, and I'm going to be in my tracks. You see how I'm in my tracks, the steer's in his tracks? See this? Okay. Right horn, left horn, land in my tracks. And now when I land here, I'm going to be two things. I'm going to be spread, and I'm going to be staggered. See how my feet are both, now they're going to be shoulder width apart, but you recognize that they could be shoulder width apart like this too, right? Are they still shoulder width apart? Right? But now if they're shoulder width apart this way, I got no balance right to left. Okay? They can also be shoulder width apart like this, but then if they're like this, then when I come up, I got no balance front to back. Y'all see that? So we're going to make sure that our feet are both spread and staggered. So the last piece of it is this. When I catch the inside horn, right horn, left horn, I'm going to kick out. When I land here in my tracks, the inside horn is just going to be at my bottom rib. Some of you have probably been told multiple times, hollered at, get the inside horn below your pocket. And it will be important at the end of the run to have the inside horn below your pocket. But at this part of the run, and including all the ones that would tell you otherwise, you can go watch 150 runs at last year's NFR. Good, bad, and otherwise, there's not one guy that catches the inside horn below their belt in the catch. It just doesn't go there in the catch. Inside horn down here in the catch, no steer can handle this. They get stiff, they get dead, they die out, nothing works right there, okay? Their head will not go there on a real steer, okay? So in the catch, the inside horn goes at your bottom rib at this point. You may ask, and I'll turn it over to Cash in just a second, because... but you may ask, well, why are you hitting on your butt? I was always told to stay on my feet. Who here was told to stay on your feet? Okay, most of you are told to stay on your feet. It's okay. Most of the guys that tell you that teach that, if you go watch the runs when they win lots of money, and there's times when we do stay on our feet. But what you have here is physics. You can't get away from math. You know, like you wanted to get away from math and you just can't. Okay, so here's what the math says. When I am on my skis, I have a lower, physics word is coefficient of friction, okay? In other words, it's a lot easier for the steer to push me if I'm up on my feet. Would y'all agree? Even if you don't agree, I can show you the math. It says that if I'm up here on my skis like this, okay, I am less heavy to push, okay? Have you ever been to a tractor pull or a mule pull or anything like that? Most kids they probably haven't seen that. Google it. But there's typically, at least old school, the way the mule pulls and the tractor pulls work, they'd have the same weight would be on a skid, and as the tractor or the mule pulled forward, they'd be up on the skids, and as it went forward, more and more of the thing would get down on the ground. Wouldn't weigh any more. Wouldn't be any heavier, wouldn't dig in the ground. All it would be was more of it on the ground. As it got more of it on the ground, pretty soon the mules or the tractor can't pull it any further. Okay? And that's the same exact thing that's happening here. You're heaviest for the steer. Your steer's going to push you less distance. And okay, this is a math you can understand. Is it going to take longer or less time to push? If a steer pushes you 30 foot, is that going to take you more time or less time than 10 foot? Yeah, right. So if steer pushed me 30 foot, it's going to take me longer than if he only pushes me 10. So I'm guessing I only want to go 10 feet, right? And this is there's no judge steer wrestling, okay? All right, so we're going to hit down on our butt, which is going to get rid of that. Now the trick is Cash is going to show you next how to get you back up on your feet after we get you down there, okay? I did the easy part, got them on their butt. Now you do the hard part, get them back on their feet. So.
Well, so talked about the reason, the biggest part of that hits me, and the reason to get this in your head is that steers are faster, stronger, more athletic than anybody here, okay? So we've got to be able to use that to help to our advantage, okay? And just like when Rope talked about, if we don't hit on our butt, and right here I weigh 225, right? So if I weigh 225, when he's heads down here, I've got all the weight on the drag on the deal. He's gonna push 225 pounds a lot further than or a lot less than he's gonna push 20 pounds, right, on these heads. That makes sense? So it's so important that if we can get kicked out and get control of the speed and the strength of the steer, that's why we kick out, we hit on our butt. That shortens up the distance or the slide to get under control and to turn him back to throw him down, right? So you can't throw him if he's stronger and faster than us unless we use his momentum and his power and strength against us. So weight on the steer's back, we're gonna go right horn, left horn. When I reach for this left horn, I'm always gonna roll my thumb down, keep my elbow up to keep my balance. Kick out, I'm gonna hit on my butt, shoulder width apart, and staggered, okay? So at this point, I've caught the steer's head, and to throw him down, this is when you hear the inside horn's gotta be below your waist. Because no matter what steer you throw down, to be able to hook his nose, his inside horn has to be below your belt buckle, below your waist, for you to roll over and get the nose. But if I'm standing here beside this steer, where's his inside horn? How much pressure does it take to get it below my waist? Right, because I'm over my legs. Does that make sense? Because if I'm standing up, it's real simple to put the inside horn to where I can bend over to go get it. The tricky part is to be able to go from our butt back to our feet, okay? The biggest thing that has to happen here is I'll bring Leighton here in front of me. So I've got the steer's head caught, right? Shoulder width apart and staggered. At this point, the only way for my butt has got to go forward till it comes over my feet. Does that make sense? So at this point, I can't stand up, right? The only way I can stand up is if my butt travels to where it goes over my feet. So at this point, all I have to do here is I end up going toes down. I break my wrists, I break my toes forward. I don't push and lock them up. I break my toes down. I let my knees bend, and I got the steer's head right here, and I let it pull me over my feet. Does that make sense? So now I'm back over my feet, the inside horn, it's easy to put away, and I have my balance again. See the drag right here and the friction, so that's what controls the steer. That is where our weight. So now we've controlled the steer with 225 pounds in this far. If it had 20 pounds, how far would it take to control his head, to control the speed? Okay, so that's why we always hit on our butt to go get control faster and do that. The trick to it is when we hit on our butt, we've always got to go toes down, soften our knees, and we've got to let that head pull us over the deal. This time is what most people, everybody wants to do, okay? Steer's going fast, he's pushing. So this time what most guys want to do is they want to lock their heels, pull on the head, and lock their knees. Can't get pulled out, and you can't get over the top of your deal. So it ends up looking like this, evidently. So head's got to go forward, right? Head's got to go forward, got to bring his butt over his feet. But this time he's going to lock his knees in the ground, push on the ground, pull on the steer's head and not let the steer pull him forward. So here comes the steer, can't get him up, right? So then where's the steer going to go? Well, there's no pressure over here, right? Has anybody felt that? Okay. So what we've got to do is we hit on our butt, feet staggered, shoulder width apart. This time when the pressure comes and the steer pulls, he's gonna let his body go forward. He's gonna be soft in his knees, breaks his toes down, let the head pull him right back over the hill. Once in that position, it takes about 20 pounds, 25 pounds of pressure from the steer to bring you up over your feet. You had a motorcycle and it's facing this way and you was gonna park it right here beside you going that way, would you grab the motorcycle and pull it up and place it here? Or would you take the motorcycle and let it go forward around your body and drive it back into this position? Does that make sense?
Okay, see how you keep trying to turn, guys? See how when he looks back here, see how when he looks this way, it drives his hips right up here in this part that doesn't bend? We want to keep your hips back here. Let the steer drive around you. Feel that? That's better. Here's the one thing that makes it hard. Want to hear the one thing that makes it hard? Especially in a group like this. In a group of all equally kind of the same age kind of kids. Here's what happens. You're a little bit concerned about what the guy next to you thinks. You're a little bit concerned about what he thinks about your bulldogging. You're a little bit concerned about what Cash thinks about your bulldogging, what Rowdy thinks about your bulldogging, what I think about your bulldogging. Here's what we think about your bulldogging. We don't, okay? Your bulldogging never crossed my mind until 5 minutes ago. Y'all get that? So stop worrying about what that guy next to you thinks about your bulldogging. You worry about you. Does that make sense? And then you'll be more ready to try it, okay? I have too many of you coming up here trying to show me what you know about bulldogging. You're not impressing me with that, okay? What I want to see is the guys that are going to come up here and really work at getting better. Does that make sense? Okay? And the best way we can do that is take the things that we're learning, even if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel better. I want you to be able to come up here and fix the last problem we had. Does that make sense?
Come on, put them hands like this. Come on, all of you right here. Come on. Just take that old Bible off the shelf and take it down and read it for yourself. This old world ain't got the right soul. I like it old time of Holy Ghost. Don't try to tell me what you know. Your knowledge isn't gonna save my soul. There's only one way for me to go. I gotta listen to that Holy Ghost. Come on, let's hear you. Still like that old time of Holy Ghost. That kind of spirit that soothes your soul. I reminisce about the days of old. Still like that old time of Holy Ghost. He went to the cross 2,000 years ago. He died for you and me to save our soul. There's only one way for me to go. I gotta listen to that Holy Ghost. Call me religious, call me what you will. Sam old flash and say I'm over the hill. This old world ain't got the right soul. I like that old time of Holy Ghost. Here we go now. Still like that old time of Holy Ghost. That kind of spirit that soothes your soul. I reminisce about them days of old. Still like that old time of Holy Ghost. Still like that old time of Holy Ghost. That kind of spirit that soothes your soul. I reminisce about them days of old. Still like that old time of Holy Ghost. Come on, y'all haven't taken home today. Put them hands like this. Come on. Now put your hands like that. All right?
How many of y'all ready to get down there and get to doing something? Nobody wants to do anything, Cash. I guess you can go take you a nap. I'm not going to keep you long because I know most of the time when we start these camps, you students are eager to get down there and hear what these world-class instructors have to speak into your lives. But we want you to understand something, that what takes place down there is important to us. We believe that whatever your hands find to do, you should do it with all of your might unto the Lord. And when you do that, then you position yourself where God can bless you, bless your efforts, and good things, success comes from that. On my way down here, I was just seeking the Lord as to what kind of emphasis that He would want on this camp, and felt like the Lord spoke to me, details. Details. Paying attention to the details, the small things. If you're a track star and you don't think it's important, and you look at it as a small thing to tie your shoe, you're probably going to lose a race that you should win. And the same thing in life, the same thing in athletics, the same thing in relationships, whether you're married or not. It's the details, it's the small things that cause success to come, because when you pay attention to details, then the really important things are taken care of. because you've instilled a mental discipline and you've instilled something in your life that positions you in poise for success. I want to share with you a story real quickly. Not going to take long. It's a true story. You can research it. Back in 1960, there was a man from Australia named Hans. They competed in the Summer Olympics in the pistol shooting. He shot 99 out of 100 targets and he won the gold medal. And this was a really big deal in Australia because they had never had a gold medalist in the Summer Olympics. He instantly became a national hero, and his place of employment gave him the year off with pay as he toured the country and made speeches and presentations and signed autographs and things of that nature. And after a year, he returned to work. And a few months afterwards, he suffered a tragic accident there, and his right arm was severed just below the elbow. He went into a deep state of depression. And after some months, his wife noticed one morning that he had a pistol in his pants covered by a shirt tail. She was worried because he'd been in severe depression. He got up from the table and he said, "Sometimes in life a man has to do what a man has to do," and he stormed out the door. Naturally, she was worried, and wasn't long till she heard the crack of a pistol. Imagining the worst, she bolted out the door, and about that time she heard another shot ring out. And she traced the sounds, and she found her husband down at a target range that he had used before, practicing with his left hand. And in 1968, 8 years after he won his first gold medal, he returned, and using his left hand, he shot 98 out of 100 targets to win the gold medal again. And what I want you to learn and to glean from this today is in life, oftentimes we have setbacks, things that we didn't plan for, things that totally came unexpectedly, that if you allow it, will alter your life. But I want to encourage you to bring captive every thought. Make it align with the Word of God. Make it align with a goal and a purpose in your life. And whenever those setbacks present themselves, you have that mental discipline. You have that attention to the details to rebound and to go forward and to be successful with what your hands find to do. I know that you came here to this camp wanting to be better athletically down in the arena. That's why you're here, and I applaud you for that. But I also want you to desire to be the best man that you can be out of the arena and in life, because it's details that will position you for success. I want to say one thing and then close. If you achieve every dream that you've ever had, if you accomplish every goal that you've ever set, but you die without Christ, you're a loser. Because you see, the saddles will rot, the trailers will rust, the buckles will tarnish. But it's what a man does for Christ that's eternal.
Big kick out, hit on her butt. Soft, roll forward, get it deep. Good job, get it deep, there it is, off your legs, push. Yes sir, Carlos. All right, he comes straight, through your core, use your core right here, ready? Push, right out here, push. Oh, good.
Listen to me, the enemy is
He's not afraid of you going to church on Sunday. If you think going to church on Sunday scares anything out of the devil, you've lost your ever-loving mind. If anything, He loves it in America today that we feel so much better about ourselves because we went to church or we went to this camp. But you want to get Him afraid? Get to know God. Get to a personal relationship with Him. The kind young man, by the way, I dig your hair. Cherish it, because this could happen. Do you understand me? I just got to touch it. All right, sorry, I'm better now, all right? I couldn't grow it on my head, so I started on my chin and my ears. All right, I'm going to let them meet together. But see, He wants us to have that kind of relationship, son, that all of a sudden He's right here on the inside, and you're just going through life. And see, when you know Him, you don't have to try to know Him. Are y'all catching me? I watched this young man right over here today. I didn't pay any attention to who it was that was bulldogging this steer. I was like, hey, one of the kids is in the camp, and I saw him. He's taking off running, and I'm like, yep, I'd already fallen down. And I mean, because that son of a gun was getting some gold. You understand? Like somebody put jet fuel in his hiney, and he was running. And this kid's running like, this is easy. And I'm like, woo! Fat would have been jiggling everywhere if I was chasing him down the pen. But then all of a sudden, what? Got a good start on him, or whatever he says it was. Feet in front of him, butt down. Come on, baby, butt down, head up. I said, And then whack, and I went, man, that kid's got this stuff figured out. And I stood up and I looked at him, I said, oh, it's genetics. I understand. He's sure. But guess what? It's because he spent so much time, and it was natural for him. You know why? Because he had been through, I'll bet you anything. Listen, gambling ain't a sin if you know you can't lose. So I bet everything. You understand? I bet everything I own that wasn't the very first time that he had heard about what the steps are that he was going to do. Matter of fact, I bet you when he was little bitty, he started hearing those steps from his daddy. I imagine he saw all kinds of stuff going on about the steps, and through his whole life, those steps became a part of him. See, when we have Jesus living right here, sir, we don't have to try to be anything because it's on the inside of us. He has changed us. He has made us new. We are His kids. See, when Jesus comes inside, your DNA is changed. If they pull DNA on you, it will come back. You are positively a child of the Most High God. Therefore, your traits are going to begin to act like Him. And all of a sudden, you're going to get to a place, and you're not going to need a goofy preacher like me to go, oh, young man, did you know that doing heroin is a sin and you'll die and go to hell? Did you know that hating people is a sin and you'll die and go to hell? No, you don't need that kind of stuff. We don't need the church to tell us what we can't do if we're in a relationship with Jesus Christ, because the numbers have been ingrained in us and we know. And something on the inside said, man, that just don't bear witness with me. That don't make any sense to me. That has nothing to do. If I had walked up to you and looked at you and said, young man, you're doing it all wrong, there's an extra step, you would have said, shut up, fat man, you don't know what you're talking about. And you would have had every right to say it, because I don't know what I'm talking about. The Bible calls the devil the accuser of the brethren. Do you understand what I'm telling you? He'll try to put an extra step in. But when you know Jesus, you can count through the steps. It was called the cross, the burial, the resurrection, the ascension. And He loves you forever, and ain't nothing ever going to change it. And once you know that, you'll have the courage to stand up and go one foot in front of the other, and you will never quit. So the Lord said this, challenge my people to come with a level of expectation that meets my level of ability. Young man, do you know what God's level of ability is? There's nothing impossible for God. You know how happy that made me when I honestly figured it out, young man? Because my daddy didn't want me. He left before I was ever born. When I found out that there was nothing impossible for God, I began to believe that I was something that wasn't an accident, that surely a God that nothing is impossible for, that He had a purpose on the inside of me. He had a purpose for me. And see, once you grab a hold of that, once we let our level of expectation begin to meet God's level of ability, we're going to see things change. Now, you may be sitting here today going, oh, Ray, I don't know. I mean, who am I to expect anything of God? Let me help you. One of these days, you're going to be a daddy. And I promise you, if you're any kind of daddy at all, you will never be offended by your son or your daughter looking at you and expecting you to do what a daddy does. You'll be honored that they expect you to do what a daddy does. And our daddy just so happens to have the ability to do anything. Whether you're in the arena out there and you're struggling with the steps, you know God cares about that. Say, Ray, I don't know if God cares about that. I do. You know how I know? Because my daughter, she loved basketball. Guess what I love? Basketball. My son played football. Guess what I love? Football. My son team roped. Guess what I love? Team roping. I'm fully convinced that they said, Dad, I want to be the best chess player in the world, that I would have loved chess because I want to be involved with my children, because I am drawn to them. I love them with everything that I have. God cares about what you care about. Sometimes we just got to be willing to put those things we care about into place and perspective so that we don't get it above them.
This was the first time to get to come here. Strand Smith, he did a school here about a month ago, and he called me and told me what was going on, and he said how he went on and on about how good it was and how much he enjoyed it, the kids, but even him saying that and talking about how good it was didn't really do it justice when we got here. I mean, just the whole facilities, the people behind the scenes, everybody just loving on these kids and motivating and also being helpful and keeping them in line, not just letting them run loose and letting them know that they're held accountable here too. So I mean, I knew it would be a great experience coming in here, but when I got here, it was even better than I thought. You already hear they just pull away and you're pushing.
One of the things that I want more than anything to be true about what we do at Sky Ranch and our elite rodeo clinics is we want the experience they have in the arena to be excellent. I feel like that sometimes people do things and they say, well, we're doing it for God so it can be okay. And when I showed up here and I saw the excellence and everything from the facilities to the way the people are taking care of people, to the way they're feeding them, to the animals, to the ground, and I see that sort of excellence, that honors the Father. If we can we give our best and we just lay it out there and do our best. I want to be excellent in the things I do. And here's the really cool thing. When we are excellent and when we do excellent in our teaching, when we give them everything we got out here in the arena to given in the steer wrestling, which is the hook we got them here with, then when we come back and we tell them, hey, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, we've built some credibility with them.
Man, what a camp we have had. It's been amazing. It's my very first ever time to actually get to work with Rope and Cash Myers, and they have not disappointed. You know, I'm a believer, and always have been, about having a level of excellence in our life in what we're doing, do the very best that we can for God, and not settling for second best. Well, come to find out, Rope and Cash have the same thought in their mind, that just because we're doing something in the name of God should never be an excuse to do it less than. If anything, it should be an excuse to do it more than, to do the very best that we have. Even if the best that we have isn't very good, it's amazing what God can do with just the best that we have. And so far I've watched young men that, I'm gonna be honest with you, scare me flat to death to jump off of a horse onto a moving steer, but I've watched young men face a fear and conquer that fear. You know, today at this camp, I watched a young man that's in the 7th grade. It was the very first time that he had ever come off of a horse onto a moving steer. And I ain't gonna lie, when I looked in his eyes when he got in that box, he was scared to death. And I don't blame him, I would have been too. But that kid ran up there, faced his fear, come off, and threw that thing down. And I thought, it's kind of almost like foreshadowing of what we do here. So many people are scared to death to give God everything. They're scared that the fall will be too far. They're scared that it'll be too hard. And they're scared that once they show God who they really are, then maybe He won't want them. The truth of the matter is, if you will jump, if you will run into His arms, if you'll get past your fear of worrying that you're not good enough, you will find out that you've been good enough since time began, because that's God's heart for you. He created you. So at these camps, when I watch these kids come in, and when I watch moms and dads, being honest, because these camps are far more about other things than just the kids. We want to reach the entire family, to let them know that even at their worst, God was always at His best, and that He loves them. So getting to minister with Dennis Aaron and watching what he does with the kids is a powerful thing. Getting to listen to Skeeter sing, a powerful thing. Watching Rope and Cash just give of themselves is a powerful thing. But the most important thing is watching Jesus give of Himself every second of every day.
Perfection is impossible, but if in our pursuit of perfection, we can achieve excellence. And that's what these young men are doing. They're pursuing perfection, and they will gain excellence from that. So I just want to tell you, if you're watching this video somewhere and you have a young person, be a son or a daughter, to watch the web page and different advertisement areas, that there'll be an opportunity for other types of schools for your young daughter, son, grandchildren to come to a camp where they will be prepared for life, prepared for eternity, and prepared to compete in the arena. God bless you.
Oh, please forgive me. I need your grace to make it through. Lord, all I have is you. I met your mercy. And Lord, I'll serve you. until my dying days. I'll help others find a way. I'm at your mercy. So please, please, thank you, Lord, for forgiving me. I can't believe the God of earth and glory would take the time.
Rope and Cash are world champions, and it's cool to have a world champion coaching you and teaching you how to do it, and especially if you've never done it before.
Everyone was friendly, and I just learned so much right off the bat. I started just enjoying it, and I mean, this place is just so beautiful. It's so nice. Everyone's friendly. They're so patient with beginners, and it taught me a little something about bulldogging, and I enjoyed it, and it's real fun.
The church service, it's kind of funny because Ray, he makes it funny for everybody, makes everybody laugh and sing songs, and I kind of like it better than regular church where you just got to sit there, but it's a lot funner than what I thought or expected it was going to be.
What brings me back to work with these kids, camp after camp, is I think it's a great organization for the kids to be able to learn from world-class instructors, and also they get to learn about God, and with all the preachers and everybody else that is involved, we get to instill something in these kids' lives that I know will last them forever.